Earlier, we see Holly in her apartment sharpening her knives as she looks at her necklace on the table, as it says, Morgan on it. As she still looks very upset, but then, she hears a knock at the door. As she opens it, as we see Athena says, Holly, right? Holly says, yeah. What's it to you? Athena says, you're part of Rob's group, correct? You all are being tested in your own manner, and I was tasked to come here and teach you our ways. Ragnar says he wants to see what you can do. So let's see what you can do. Holly says, what can I do? Athena says, please, come with me. As Holly walks with her, as she holds her necklace and says, lead the way. Later on, at 3 a.m., we see Ragnar driving through Wyoming, listening to Poker Plans by Arthur Morgan, as he says, I've always got a plan. As we see him bobbing his head back and forth, as we then see he pulls over into the arena.
Rob it, grab it, shoot it, plant it, Dutchie, I'm with you.
We see Holly with two swords fighting two guys at once. As we see, she's absolutely destroying these guys. As Ragnar walks in, as we see Athena saying, okay, and time. Holly wins round 4. Let's take 5. The fight happens tonight. Ragnar says, how's the new girl doing? Athena says, actually catching on pretty quick. It's clearly experienced by the looks of it. No one catches on that quick. Ragnar says, experience. I like that. Whatever you do, don't let go of her then. I mean, if she truly is that good. Nice work, Athena. See you tonight. We see the two guys sitting on the bench as Athena walks up to them and says, you guys good to get back out there? One of them says, we might need more time. Athena says, more time? Since when do you both need more time? The other guy says, more time to understand what kind of animal you dragged in here. The woman has experience. Athena says, I'm sorry. I'm having trouble finding a reason to understand why this is a problem for you both. Are you seriously saying you're backing out this close to the event? The man says, no. I have to do this. I need to work my way up anyway. My family, my kids, they're counting on me, so I'm staying. But maybe you can find us a different opponent, Athena says. Absolutely not. Holly's staying in. She's one of my new favorites. I chose her for this because I wanted to see what she can do. She showed me, and you're showing me something I really don't want to hear. If you have a problem with your position, or if you have a complaint, take your ass up to the boss man and deal with it yourselves. Cry about it. She walks away, and then she turns around and says, halftime's over, get up, run it again. Back in Lincolnville, we see Ryder doing some target practice as we see a man in a suit walks up to him and says, damn, you never miss, don't you? Ryder says, I could say the same for you. What are you doing back in town, Kai? I thought you were out on that hunt. Kai says, well, I was, till I heard what went down. Damn psychopaths at a farm, people wearing skulls for helmets. Sounds like maniac behavior if I've ever seen it. Ryder says, well, I'm glad you're back. Kai says, I heard the talk of the town. Aren't you going to tell me something? Ryder just looks at him, and Kai says, you're going to have a family, man. Hell, something I tried to have, and it failed. Ryder doesn't look all that happy, and Kai says, "Hey man, you really gonna tell me you're not happy? Hell, you've always wanted an opportunity like this." Ryder says, "No, I'm happy, it's just, I guess I'm just not so happy they may not get a chance to even grow up here." Kai says, "Wait, what the hell are you talking about, man? You're doing it again." Ryder says, "What? Doing what?" Kai says, "Predicting the worst. Look, your kid will grow up here. Even if I have to nail every goddamn one of those psychos' heads in, I will. We're not losing anymore. You know what I think? I think you're expecting the worst. Because in some fucked up way, you've gotten used to that way of living. So let me ask you something. What did they do to you?" Ryder then shoots and hits his target perfectly as Kai looks on edge a bit, and Ryder says, "You know me. They didn't do a damn thing to me, but held me up. I'm fine." Kai says, "Alright. Listen, I gotta go, but maybe we can share a drink later or something?" Ryder says, "Celebration drink, right?" Kai says, "Absolutely. That's more like it." As Ryder stands there and smiles a little. Back in Wyoming, we see Ragnar walking the streets as we see him stopping and getting a slice of pizza. We see him waving at people. We then see him walking the streets as he then sees a poster in a pawn shop's window that says, "Rob Johnson, our savior." Ragnar looks at this and says, "Well, there goes my fucking day. Guy plays one tune and suddenly he's the MVP? Do these people forget who made this man's career possible? Unbelievable." We then see a man walk up to him in a suit and says, "Excuse me, Mr. Ragnar, do you have a minute?" Ragnar says, "Plenty of them, but not one to share with you, Desmond." Desmond says, "Well, look, I'd like to talk to you about one of my clients I had yesterday. Real pain. He didn't really respect any of my people, and I just thought maybe you could set him straight." Ragnar says, "Look, I'm sure he's a hoot, alright, but I got a million other things to do today, alright? Enemies to fight, people to answer to, Rob getting his ass kissed, and now suddenly you have problems? Just play your part, alright, Mr. Walton?" Desmond says, "Of course, sir. I'll stay out of your territory." Ragnar walks back into his office as he opens the door and sees the two guys from earlier that were fighting Holly. As Ragnar walks in and says, "Does anybody knock anymore? God, I wish I didn't kill my assistant. Anyway, what do you want?" The guy says, "Well, sir, I wanted to discuss a bit of a problem we're having." Ragnar says, "Problem? Well, it seems to be the topic of the day." The other guy says, "Well, we were just concerned about our opponent, sir. Holly from the new crew." Ragnar says, "What about her?" The guy says, "Well, she's kind of rough, sir. I'd really like to get someone more fair that doesn't go too hard on people. She's clearly letting out some built-up anger inside of her or some crazy shit. I mean, she damn near broke my arm, Ragnar." Ragnar says, "You done?" The guy nods and he says, "Okay, so, let me get this straight. Are you pissing your little wankers because you got beat up by a woman? Have we sunken that low? You sound like one of those sensitive pricks that used to claim everything was woke back in the day. Luckily, the world went to shit and that bullshit died with it. Thank Christ. Listen, boys, and yes, boys, not men, because, well, look at you. You have a problem with how things are going with that Holly girl? Then deal with it yourselves. Whatever you want to do." He gets up, and one of them turns and says, "Well, what would you do if you were in our position, sir?" Ragnar says, "Well, to ease your pain and kiss your little boo-boo, I would corner her, I'd scare her a little, tell her it's my way now, or the high road." The other guy says, "Wait, like, do anything we want, basically?" Ragnar says, "Yeah, sure, whatever. Look, you came to me and said that you had a problem, correct?" The guy says, "Yeah, and Athena defends her." Ragnar says, "Well, that's a shock to the world. Look, you want something to change?" He looks at them and says, "Well, you better work on changing it then, son." back in Lincolnville. We see Ryder serving drinks at a bar. As we see Kai walks in, and one of the guys says, "Hey Ryder, you got a customer." Ryder says, "Kai, what can I get you?" Kai says, "Surprise me." Ryder says, "All right. Well, we'll just pull out the old moonshine then." Kai says, "Whoa, I didn't say get me hammered, man, Jesus." Ryder says, "You know, I miss this. Even just a few weeks away, I miss this." Kai says, "You seem different." Ryder says, "Yeah, I mean, being in captivity would make you a little different, I suppose." Kai says, "Cut the shit, man. You ain't you, man. You're not. You are not one for moping around with your head down." Ryder puts his head down and Kai says, "See? Head down." Ryder says, "You don't know me." Kai says, "Hey, man, I've known you since we were on the other side of that goddamn border all those years ago. That's a long ways from now, and now you turn your back on me? After all that I've done for you." Ryder says, "Yeah, things in Canada were dangerous, but they're even worse now. All those people just living under that psycho's boot." Kai says, "There it is. You know, I've been focused on your problems, but the problem is written all over your face. It ain't you that needs helping. You want to go back, save the people that you couldn't save." Ryder is pouring a drink and says, "Look, I know my mom thinks that I'm a fucking disappointment for not getting all of her people out of there. And hell, if I'm going to take over and lead this place one day, how the hell can I do that if I can't even get everyone else out?" Kai says, "You want to go back, don't you?" Ryder says, "My mom would kill me if I tried. I'm tired of disappointing her." Kai says, "Well, we can figure a way around that. Frankly, it's been bothering me too. I got an idea if you just listen to me." Ryder says, "What were you thinking?" Kai says, "You know where this Wyoming is located at?" Ryder says, "Not specifically, but I know the general area. I'm sure we could find it." Kai says, "Well, that's all we need. We're gonna get in. But with us getting in, means the beginning is something else." Back in Wyoming, we see the arena closing down for the night. As we see everyone has gone home, and Holly is gathering her stuff in the changing room. As she hears a door open in the distance, as she yells out, "I'm sorry, we're closed. You can come back tomorrow, though." She doesn't hear an answer, and she says, "Hello? Hello?" We see these two shadows of two guys walking into the room. She looks on edge and says, "Who the hell are you?" The men don't speak as she backs up against the wall and says, "What do you want?" The man says, "Shh." They hit her in the side with a crowbar. As she falls, as they start beating her up, she's trying to fight back, but her side is bleeding. They repeatedly punch her over and over again. As we see, she hits one of them, but he gets back up and kicks her down again once more. But then, we see one of them just looks at the other guy and just kind of tilts his head to the side. We hear a small chuckle. As he starts taking his pants off, as he forces her to the floor, as he then starts raping her, as the other guy stands there and laughs, as we see her crying, and as we see her pull herself together, as she sees his crowbar on the floor, but she can't reach it. She then sees her necklace from Morgan is broken into two pieces on the floor. As she quickly grabs the sharp end of the necklace, as she headbutts the man to the ground, and as she then slices his throat open, as the blood is gushing out, as she then stands there covered in his blood, as the other guy looks a bit nervous, as she grabs him by the collar and smashes his face against the concrete wall repeatedly and keeps hitting him against the wall over and over again until his head is nothing but mush. As she then falls to her knees and she breaks down. But then she takes the mask off of the man and sees it's her opponent's It's the guys she was fighting before. As she looks angry, and then we hear a door opening in the distance. We see Athena walking into a big arena. As we see, it's dark. As we see, no one's in there. She hears something coming from the locker room, and she says, "Hello? It's after hours. You should go home. It's past curfew." As she walks into the locker room, but as we see blood on the floor. As she pulls out her sword and says, "Hello? Anyone in here?" She then sees 2 dead bodies on the floor. Athena looks pissed, and then she sees in the corner of the room Holly sitting there with blood on her hands. As we see, she's shaking as Athena looks pissed and says, Holly, what did you do?" As Holly is in a daze, as we see her hands are full of blood. Holly says, "They tried to kill me." Athena says, "I see that. But murder is murder." Later on, we see Holly locked up in a cell. As we see, Athena walks up to her and says, "Hope you're okay." Holly says, "Why the hell would you care? You're keeping me locked up like an animal. After 2 men just did what they did to me? They raped me? Beat me? And you have the audacity to sit there and ask me if I'm okay?" Athena says, "Yup. And for the reasons you just said. We're gonna have a lot of cleaning up to do for this one." Holly says, "What, Ragnar? You gonna send him in here to fix everything? Jesus Christ, that's all you people ever do." Athena says, "Well, actually, but then..." We hear a knock at the door as Athena says, "Come in, it's open." We see Boots walking up to the cell. As we see a man in a suit. As we see the man says, "Hi, I'm Desmond Walton. I'm sorry about what happened." Athena says, "We're not here to hurt you, Holly. Quite the opposite, in fact. You were right. I'm keeping you here because of Ragnar. I'm keeping you here to protect you." Desmond says, "We better get our heads together. Because once we take this to Ragnar, once he figures out what this is, what happened, this could go one of 2 ways. This thing will either go our way, or it's gonna crumble right in our hands."